In this video, I'm going to show you guys a drill for reloads that a little bit unorthodox, but I think it actually will help you in the long run. So my method of reloading is to not look at the gun at all. And I understand that there's a development issue where you want to look at the mag well and make sure you're seating your mag properly. But you need to get to the point where you don't need to look at your gun while doing so. Just like front sight focus isn't actually for use in combat, it's actually a developmental process where you're just using it as a check in the box to make sure everything looks right. And then, that's it. But you should be training out of that to where you're just superimposing your iron sights, your aligned iron sights on target and know what right looks like. So anyways, I'm going to be using an ELMS. You can get these on Amazon and they're like 75 bucks, but well worth it. You get a spare set of batteries, spare set of O-rings. So I'm just going to insert that into the chamber, and I have a spare mag that is dry, and I have a magazine in the gun. The O-rings will hold the ELMS in the chamber. Now, you don't want to do this drill like a million times because that can actually damage the ELMS because it's just metal on metal. One's going to lose, right? Mostly the ELMS is probably going to lose because these things are designed for combustion inside this bore, whereas the ELMS is designed for training and being a little bit more gentle on it, but it still serves the purpose of being mechanically aligned. So the drill is that you have the slide lock back and you just fakely pull the trigger. Even if you have a Glock, you just pretend you're pulling the trigger, and then when the timer goes beep, then you check, and then you eject, insert a new one, send it home, and then go. So this isn't something that you're going to be able to do very easily if you like racking the slide, right? But you can do that by taking out like the follower and stuff like that, or grinding down the follower to where it doesn't catch the slide stop. There's different tricks for that if you wish. But anyways, with that said, I'm going to have a dry fire par timer here, and I'm going to be aiming at the head of this silhouette target right here. And the dry fire par timer is going to have a par time of 3 seconds and a delay time of 10 seconds. Now, if you're using a snap cap, like to feed into that, into the chamber, then 10 seconds is absolutely going to be vital for you to immediately eject the snap cap, put it in the magazine that you dropped, and then put that magazine away. And if you're carrying, you might need longer than 3 seconds, but I just have the magazine relatively exposed. The drill is supposed to help you with developing your grip and helping you reacquire your grip and get an accurate shot on target. Yeah, that's the basic principle here. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started here. Check, eject, reload, fire. All done in under 3 seconds. Not really that big of a deal. It'll take longer if you have a concealed mag. And it's a lot harder to hit that slide stop when you have an empty mag to deal with in spring pressure. So it's a lot better for you to practice actually hitting that and putting the right amount of force on it. Okay, so that was the drill. Sorry, an ad went off, so I had to cut it right there because it was just awkward. But anyways, and that dry fire par timer, if you don't buy it every now and then after you get done with a drill, it'll actually play an ad. So anyways, but that's the reload drill. It's going to help you with a few things. It'll point out grip problems or getting back on target. If you use the ELMS trainer, it's going to show you how fast you can get back on target and shoot. I was pretty well under 3 seconds the entire time, so I think I'm down to like a 2.5 second thing, but it's all relative to how you're carrying the magazine and all this other stuff. And the biggest thing there is adhering to the principle. So I want to identify that it is actually empty. That's a legit thing. It's not just running through the motions. It's like empty, okay, go through. And it should become to the level of being instinctive. If you're developing your reloading skills, then yes, I agree that, when you're new to it, a brief glance down and making sure that the magazine is in. At this point, perform that focal shift and get away from that and focus on the threat again. But you should not have to stare at your gun. That's a developmental process that you go through. That's not an actual method for real life. That's just something you do to get better at it. It's kind of like, when you're learning to acquire a grip, like looking at it, setting it, doing this, and what have you. You're not going to do this when you get out of the holster. You're not going to do this in, a gunfight or anything. It's a developmental thing until you learn what right feels like and what right looks like and everything else, and until you can get those things down the way you need it to, then yes, I guess looking at the gun, would be necessary, but get to a point where you don't have to look at the gun while moving in all these different positions, and doing this drill in different positions and while moving is going to be essential to you actually developing yourself as a shooter and being an asset, not a liability.